An ancient prophecy hidden in the scriptures is being fulfilled right now in real time, and practically no one is noticing. I'm not talking about the prophecies you already know. This one is different, deeper, and absolutely clear when you finally see it. In the next few minutes, I'll show you evidence that will completely change your way of seeing current events in Israel. And pay close attention. When you connect these dots, you'll understand why this might be one of the most crucial moments in prophetic history. What's happening now is just the tip of the iceberg of something much bigger. To understand the magnitude of this prophetic revelation, we first need to establish a clear panorama of the events that have shaped Israel's history until now. Since its refounding in 1948, an event that by itself fulfilled millennial prophecies, Israel has been the epicenter of events that transcend mere geopolitics. When David Ben-Gurion declared the independence of the State of Israel, the world witnessed something many considered impossible: the rebirth of a nation after almost 2,000 years of dispersion. The scriptures had already predicted this return in passages like Ezekiel 37, which speaks of dry bones coming back to life, and Isaiah 66, which mentions a nation being born in one day. These prophecies, widely recognized today, were just the beginning. In the following decades, we saw the fulfillment of other significant biblical predictions: the redevelopment of the Hebrew language, the reflowering of the previously desert land, and Israel's transformation into a technological and military power, the head and not the tail among nations, as described in Deuteronomy 28, verse 13. Each of these events has served as prophetic landmarks, signaling the unfolding of the divine plan. But here's a crucial point that many miss. While we focus on these more evident signs, an underground current of events has been flowing silently, fulfilling a much more specific prophecy and, I dare say, more significant for our generation. It's as if we've been so focused on the large road signs that we've lost sight of a detailed treasure map hidden right under our feet. Israel's current geopolitical situation is particularly revealing. Never before in modern history have we seen such a convergence of factors. Unlikely alliances being formed, ancient enmities being reconfigured, and conflict patterns that seem to follow a script written millennia. This forgotten prophecy isn't hidden in some obscure text or newly discovered manuscripts. It's right there, in the pages of scriptures we've read for years. But its true nature could only be understood when certain historical conditions aligned. Conditions we are witnessing now, in our time. The most fascinating thing is that this prophecy not only predicted specific events, but also explained why it would remain hidden until the appropriate time. It's as if there was a divine timer, programmed to awaken our understanding exactly in this period of history. And this is where we reach the most crucial point of this presentation: the revelation of a prophecy that not only complements everything we already know about Israel's role in the last days, but also provides a new understanding that completely changes our perspective on current events. The prophecy I'm about to reveal is located in one of the most unlikely places in Scripture, a passage that thousands of scholars have read repeatedly, but whose deeper meaning remained veiled until this specific moment in history. It's in the book of Zechariah, specifically in chapter 12, where we find a prophetic description that fits with astonishing precision to the events we are witnessing. When we examine the original Hebrew text, we discover something extraordinary. The word burden or weight, which appears at the beginning of the chapter, comes from the Hebrew masa, masha, which carries a double meaning, not only a prophetic burden, but also an elevation or lifting. This double meaning is crucial to understanding the unique nature of this prophecy, as it speaks simultaneously of a burden upon Jerusalem and its elevation on the world stage. But the true insight comes when we connect three specific elements that have never been adequately related before. First, the prophecy speaks of Jerusalem as a cup of trembling for all surrounding peoples. Second, it mentions a time when all nations of the earth will gather against it. And third, and this is the critical element everyone missed, it describes a fundamental transformation in the nature of the conflict. The original Hebrew text reveals a fascinating linguistic pattern that only makes complete sense in the current context. The word used for siege in Zechariah 12:2 is directly connected to a Hebrew root that implies not just a physical siege, but a form of psychological and diplomatic pressure. This linguistic detail is crucial because it describes exactly the type 1, a phase of Israel's growing isolation on the international stage. 2. A dramatic shift in traditional alliances. 3. A period of internal transformation in Israel that coincides with unprecedented external pressures. What makes this revelation even more extraordinary is how it connects with other prophetic passages that previously seemed unrelated. In Ezekiel 38, for example, we find a description of alliances that seemed impossible just a few decades ago. Now, not only are these alliances forming exactly as described, but they are following the specific order outlined in the forgotten prophecy of Zechariah. The analysis of the original text also reveals a critical temporal element that has been consistently neglected. The Hebrew word used for "in that day," biyomahu, carries a specific connotation that suggests not just a future period, but a moment of convergence, exactly the type of convergence we are witnessing now on multiple fronts: technological, geopolitical, and spiritual. But perhaps the most surprising aspect of this prophecy is how it accurately predicted the current moment of global polarization regarding Israel. The text describes a period when the world would divide not just politically, but ideologically in its view of Israel, something we are witnessing on an unprecedented scale. The prophecy also speaks of a specific technological development that has only now become possible. When the text mentions that the eyes of all nations will be turned toward Jerusalem, it wasn't speaking just metaphorically. In the original Hebrew, the word used for eyes can also refer to instruments of observation, a remarkably accurate reference to the current era of global surveillance and instant communication. What makes this revelation even more significant is the perfect timing of its discovery. The prophecy not only predicted the events we are seeing, but also indicated that its own understanding would be revealed at a specific time. A time that coincides exactly with our current era. It's as if a prophetic seal had been broken, allowing us to see for the first time the complete picture that has always been before us. But the implications of this prophecy go far beyond mere prediction of events. They point to a fundamental transformation in how we understand Israel's role in the divine plan, and more importantly, provide us with a clear roadmap for the events that are about to unfold. Let me translate this comprehensive follow-up section about. First, let's observe recent geopolitical events. In the last 24 months, we've witnessed a series of unprecedented diplomatic realignments in the Middle East. The Abraham Accords, for example, weren't just a historic milestone. They precisely fulfilled a prophetic pattern of unlikely alliances described in Zechariah. Even more significant is how these alliances are developing exactly in the predicted sequence. First, the Gulf countries, followed by nations from North Africa, creating a pattern that perfectly aligns with the geographical progression described in the prophecy. In parallel, we observe a notable escalation in military technology that corresponds with astonishing precision to the prophetic details. Israel's Iron Dome defense system, for example, represents exactly the type of supernatural protection mentioned in the prophecy when it speaks of Jerusalem as a heavy stone for all nations. The original Hebrew text uses a word that implies not just weight, but also a form of technologically advanced resistance. Climate and environmental patterns have also presented surprising confirmations. In the last 5 years, Israel has experienced agricultural transformations that defy natural logic. The Dead Sea, which had been losing water for decades, began showing unexpected signs of recovery. Even more impressive is the emergence of water springs in previously arid places, a literal fulfillment of the prophecy that speaks of living waters flowing from Jerusalem. The validation of this prophecy isn't based solely on theological interpretations, but on concrete and verifiable events that we are witnessing in real time. The confirming signs are so precise and numerous that it's impossible to attribute them to mere coincidence. Let's examine the most significant evidence that confirms the fulfillment of this prophecy in our days. First, let's observe recent geopolitical events. In the last 24 months, we've witnessed a series of unprecedented diplomatic realignments in the Middle East. The Abraham Accords, for example, weren't just a historic milestone. They precisely fulfill the prophetic pattern of unlikely alliances described in Zechariah. Even more significant is how these alliances are developing exactly in the predicted sequence. First, the Gulf countries, followed by nations from North Africa, creating a pattern that perfectly aligns with the geographical progression. Climate and environmental patterns have also presented surprising confirmations. In the last 5 years, Israel has experienced agricultural transformations that defy natural logic. The Dead Sea, which had been losing water for decades, began showing unexpected signs of recovery. Even more impressive is the emergence of water springs in previously arid places, a literal fulfillment of the prophecy that speaks of living waters flowing from Jerusalem. Recent archaeological evidence has provided extraordinary validations. Excavations at the Temple Mount and the City of David continue to reveal artifacts that confirm not only the historical accuracy of the scriptures, but also specific aspects of this forgotten prophecy. In 2023, a particularly significant discovery brought to light ancient inscriptions that directly reference the events we are witnessing today. In the field of technology, we observe developments that seem to fulfill specific aspects of the prophecy. Israel's emergence as a startup nation isn't just an economic phenomenon. It's a direct fulfillment of the prediction about how this nation would become a source of innovation for the world. The Hebrew word used in the prophecy for light, or, can also be translated as innovation or technological illumination. Even more impressive are the sociological patterns developing exactly as described. The prophecy speaks of a period when there would be global polarization regarding Israel, but with a unique characteristic. Even the nation's fiercest critics would find themselves forced to recognize certain undeniable truths. Isn't this exactly what we're seeing today, with traditionally hostile nations seeking technological and medical partnerships with Israel? The signs in global media are also revealing. The prophecy indicates a period when Jerusalem would become the center of world attention in an unprecedented way. The volume of media coverage about Israel in recent years has not only increased exponentially, but has also changed in nature, focusing increasingly on specific aspects mentioned in the prophecy. Demographic changes in Israel also follow the prophetic pattern precisely. The return of Jews from specific places, in the exact order mentioned in the text, is happening before our eyes. Even more significant is the profile of these immigrants, exactly as described in the prophecy, including their skills and contributions to Israeli society. Perhaps the most convincing sign is the temporal convergence of all these elements. The prophecy not only predicted these events, but also indicated that they would occur simultaneously, exactly as we are witnessing now. It's as if we're seeing all the pieces of a prophetic puzzle fitting together at the same time. Given this overwhelming evidence, the question that naturally arises is, what does this mean for us today? How should we respond to this prophetic revelation? The implications are profound and demand not just our attention, but also practical and specific actions. First, we need to understand that this isn't just interesting theological knowledge. It's a wake-up call. The prophecy wasn't revealed now by chance. It carries with it a responsibility. Just like the sons of Issachar in the scriptures, who understood the times, we are called to discern the time in which we live and act accordingly. One of the most immediate implications is the need to develop a new type of prophetic literacy. We can no longer be content with superficial or sensationalist interpretations. The prophecy shows us that we need to develop a deeper and more nuanced understanding of the signs of the times. This means 1. Studying the scriptures with a new level of attention to detail. 2. Following global events with spiritual discernment. 3. Developing a deeper understanding of Israel's history and culture. 4. Learning to distinguish between true signs and false alarms. But knowledge without action is sterile. This prophetic revelation calls us to a more active and engaged stance. In practical terms, this means intensifying our prayers for Israel and Jerusalem in an informed and specific way, seeking concrete ways to support the Jewish people and the state of Israel, sharing this knowledge with wisdom and discernment, preparing spiritually for the events to come. There are also practical implications for our daily lives. The prophecy indicates that we are entering a period of intensification, both of challenges and opportunities. This requires preparation on multiple levels. Spiritually, we need to strengthen our faith and knowledge of Scripture. The prophecy indicates there will be a period of testing for our faith, not through open persecution, but through subtle pressures and sophisticated questioning. Intellectually, we must equip ourselves with solid knowledge and well-founded arguments. The prophecy suggests there will be an increase in questioning and opposition to biblical truth, how to respond to growing anti-Israel pressures in media and society, how to maintain a balanced perspective amid polarization, how to be a voice of truth and hope in times of confusion, how to prepare others for the events to come. Perhaps the most profound implication is the urgency of the moment. The prophecy clearly indicates that we are in a critical transition period, a time when decisions and positions will have lasting consequences. It's not time for neutrality or indecision. At the same time, the prophecy brings us a message of hope and purpose. It shows us that we are not living through random events, but a carefully orchestrated divine plan. This should give us confidence and peace, even amid the approaching turbulence. For those watching this video, the call is clear. This knowledge brings with it a responsibility. We can no longer claim ignorance about the times in which we live. The prophecy has been revealed to us now for a reason, to prepare and empower us to be agents of truth and hope in an increasingly confused world. We have reached the point where knowledge must transform into action. After everything we have revealed here, we cannot simply continue our lives as if nothing has changed. This prophecy isn't just interesting information, It's a call to wake up and act. Let's recap the crucial points we've discovered. An ancient and forgotten prophecy is being fulfilled before our eyes. The confirming signs are clear and verifiable. The current moment is unique and strategic in history. We have a responsibility with this knowledge. The time to act is now. But what to do with all this information? How to respond in a practical and effective way? The answer begins with a personal commitment. Each of us has a vital role in this historic moment. It's not by chance that you're watching this video now. At a time when so much misinformation circulates about prophecies and end-time events, this revelation has reached you for a purpose. The first step is to stay vigilant. Here are practical actions you can start right now. 1. Deepen your knowledge of the scriptures, especially the prophetic passages about Israel. A deep understanding of the word prepares us for the events to come. 2. Follow developments in Israel with new eyes. Don't be led by traditional media. Seek reliable sources and analyze events in light of what we've learned. 3. Share this knowledge with wisdom and discernment. Not everyone is prepared to receive this revelation, but many are seeking answers. 4. Prepare yourself spiritually for the challenging times ahead. The prophecy shows us that we will need spiritual strength and discernment like never before. To not miss our vital content, activate the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, leave your like to help this knowledge reach more people. Share with those who need to hear this message. Remember, although the times ahead may be challenging, the prophecy clearly shows us that we are not alone in this journey. There is a greater plan in motion, and you are now part of it. If this content has impacted your life, share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. See you in the next video. Until then, keep your eyes open and your heart prepared. The signs are everywhere, and now you know how to recognize them. This is just the beginning of a journey of discoveries that will forever change your understanding of the times we live in. Don't miss the next chapter of this revelation. The choice is now in your hands. You can continue as before, or you can become part of this historic moment. What will you choose to do with this knowledge? Thank you very much.